Defining Indian art means tracking a visual record that spans the entire subcontinent, from the mountains of Afghanistan to the wet zones of Sri Lanka, and 5,000 years of continuous cultural change. This timeline places the Harappan era at the very start of urban civilization. At 3300 BCE, the Indus Valley was a contemporary to the Old Kingdom of Egypt and the earliest dynasties of Mesopotamia. Even before those cities rose, the creative impulse was active. These stone tools from Nivasa are estimated to be tens of thousands of years old, representing some of the earliest designs recovered in Maharashtra. While ancient Egypt was organizing labor for pyramids, the people of the Indus Valley developed a culture of micro-art. They focused their technical energy on small-scale, sophisticated objects rather than public, large-scale monuments. This bronze dancing girl figurine shows that technical sophistication. It was created using the lost wax technique, a process where a wax model is encased in clay and melted out to create a hollow mold for molten metal. Thousands of these steatite seals have been recovered, many featuring a pierced boss on the back so they could be worn. They carried intricate carvings of animals and figures, serving as both personal identifiers and trademarkers. Unlike other early civilizations, the Indus Valley produced almost no public, large-scale art. Their surviving legacy is found instead in these sophisticated, handheld objects, prioritizing technical skill and personal use over massive state displays. The handheld scale of the Indus Valley was eventually superseded. The rise of Buddhism and Jainism required a new visual language that could communicate religious narratives to large public audiences. This shift triggered a change in scale. Artisans stopped molding handfuls of clay and bronze and began carving directly into the faces of mountains to create permanent landmarks of faith. The Ellora caves represent the height of this ambition. These temples weren't built by stacking stones. They were excavated top-down out of solid basalt rock, creating entire monastic complexes within the hillside. Inside the nearby Ajanta caves, the rough rock was covered in vibrant murals. These paintings utilized the cave walls to tell religious stories, surrounding visitors with a continuous visual narrative. This era permanently linked art with architecture. From this point forward, Indian art would be used to create fully immersive spiritual environments, rather than just isolated objects. During the 4th through 6th centuries CE, the Gupta dynasty oversaw a period where Indian art and science were systematically organized. While mathematicians were introducing the concept of zero and decimal notation, Gupta sculptors were formalizing the ideal proportions and serene postures of the human figure. This sandstone Buddha is the result of that codification. Notice the elegant naturalism and the tranquil expression. These specific poses and facial features became the finalized template for religious icons. This visual language became the definitive standard. These standardized forms were exported along trade routes, shaping the development of Buddhist and Hindu art throughout Southeast Asia and Sri Lanka. In the 16th century, the arrival of the Mughal Empire introduced a foreign aesthetic influenced by the Islamic traditions of Persia. The medium shifted once again. Instead of monumental stone carving, the royal courts focused on the delicate, intimate surface of paper and book illustrations. The Mughal style was a combination of Persian miniature traditions and existing Indian styles. It utilized imported techniques for fine line work, but maintained a distinctly Indian vibrancy and sense of design. This fusion led to new subject matters. Artists moved away from purely religious icons to create hyper-realistic royal portraits, precise studies of animals and plants, and scenes of courtly life. The Mughal era proved Indian art could survive conquest by integration. It absorbed Persian elements to create a cosmopolitan hybrid that remained uniquely its own. This continuous development was disrupted by the British Raj. Between 1858 and 1947, traditional painting styles fell out of popularity because they didn't appeal to European tastes. In their place, the company paintings emerged. These were works commissioned by British collectors that presented Indian subject matter through a European gaze and artistic conventions. This colonial influence triggered a backlash known as the Bengal School. These artists actively boycotted European styles and British-made materials to reclaim their artistic heritage. They revived indigenous techniques and domestic subjects turning back to the murals of Ajanta and traditional Indian painting for inspiration. By reviving these indigenous methods, these artists turned the canvas into a weapon of political resistance, using traditional styles to assert a national identity against colonial rule. After independence in 1947, Indian artists faced a new challenge: how to paint for the modern world without simply copying the West or repeating the ancient past. The Progressive Artists Group responded with a philosophy of deep engagement. They sought a genuine fusion that allowed Indian traditions and global modernism to challenge one another. They embraced elements like Expressionism and Cubism, but anchored them in Indian subjects. This produced work defined by emotional intensity and formal distortion, reflecting the energy of a newly independent nation. This distinct blend of the avant-garde and the historical is what you see in contemporary Indian galleries today. Indian art has remained a continuous, living record for 5,000 years. Its history is defined by resilience, a distinct ability to absorb external influences while maintaining a uniquely Indian soul.